Hi, my name is Carmen Florez, and I will be presenting about the Frente Negra Brasileira, or Black Brazilian Front, a political movement of the 1930s that aimed to improve race relations in 20th century Brazil. Hi. First, we must begin with the background knowledge of Brazil and why race relations were a huge focus in the 1930s. Brazil is a large country in South America replete with natural resources and commodities. Because of this, its colonizer, Portugal, ordered a huge influx of slaves to be transported to Brazil up until Brazil's independence in 1822. After their independence, Brazil continued to use slaves, especially in its agricultural endeavors. It wasn't until 1888 that Brazil became the last country in the Western Hemisphere to abolish slavery. Nevertheless, despite the new racial equality, race relations continued to be a huge problem and political issue in Brazil. Due to its history, the racial controversies were made up of white Europeans, Afro-Brazilians, and native Brazilians. However, for the sake of this presentation and the information I was able to collect and research, my focus will be on Afro-Brazilians. Brazilians view race differently than we view it here in the United States. We'll start by listing the self-reported statistics as of 2013. 47.7% of Brazilians self-identify as white, 43.1% as pardo or of mixed race, 7.6% is black, 1.1% is Asian, and 0.4% is native. These statistics are self-reported, meaning that they can be skewed by societal pressures such as people choosing to view themselves as pardo as opposed to black or native due to societal pressures. Unlike the unofficial one-drop rule that exists here in the United States, where you only need to be a little bit non-white to be considered fully non-white, in Brazil, most people can get away with being white if they repeat it to themselves and others enough times. However, it is evident that this idea of whiteifying yourself and your identity is a symptom of a bigger problem, the negative perception of any race that isn't white, especially black. Brazil struggles a lot with two things when it comes to the treatment of Afro-Brazilians. The first is the exploitation of black culture, where things that were once looked down upon and made illegal by the Brazilian government after the abolishment of slavery, such as samba, a dance, capoeira, a martial art disguised as a dance, and candomblé, an African-based religion, are now highly commercialized and used to attract tourists by being depicted as the most Brazilian parts of the culture. Another issue is the black citizenship paradox, as further elaborated in Kristen Smith's Afro-Paradise. The black citizenship paradox is the phenomenon that occurs when black citizens of Brazil are forced to participate in their civil duty such as voting in elections, receiving ID cards, and paying taxes, but when push comes to shove, they are mistreated and underrepresented. Afro-Brazilians are constantly placed at the bottom of the social totem pole and receive the worst of political treatment and police brutality. Brazilians have spent decades and even centuries recognizing this. In the 21st century, a way they have done so is through the creation of choque cultural, or culture shock, a theater troupe that aims to shine a light on the social and political issues that have shaped Brazilian culture, including the racial discrimination and mistreatment of Afro-Brazilians. They do so by creating and performing skits or vignettes that tell anecdotes of racist experiences as well as make social commentary. The skit that shook me the most, and that I studied the most if we're being honest, is the one focusing on the Berlin Wall. In this skit, the Berlin Wall isn't the actual wall in communist Germany, but rather a replica made up of marginalized Brazilians separating the have and have-nots when it comes to racial equality. The irony of the wall is that it is made up of these marginalized members of society, representing the false idea that they are the ones separating themselves from the rest of society, and they are the ones responsible for tearing the wall down. Is it their responsibility, though? Are those who are treated as inferior the ones responsible for urging for equal treatment, or is it the responsibility of those who mistreat others to learn where they are going wrong and what they can do to correct their behavior? Think about this for a bit while we continue to discuss other aspects of racial inequality here in Brazil. Existing since the 19th century, when slaves began to escape and create their own estranged, independent maroon societies, quilombos have existed as a sort of safe haven for Afro-Brazilians. These are communities built for them, by them. These communities have grown to become a type of auto-segregated neighborhood, as is common in societies composed of many different cultures. And while they do not exist as the organized quilombos from before, Afro-Brazilians continue to conglomerate into small communities all over the country.
Meu nome é Simone.
Meu nome é Regina.
Meu nome é Joacinei.
Race, color, identity in Brazil, it's complicated. Even within the same family, how you see yourself and how others see you are not always the same thing. Meet Simone's family. They live in a community on the outskirts of Rio de Janeiro.
Meu nome é Rodrigo.
Eu sou Isabelle. Daniele.
Jéssica. Meu nome é Sara. E eu tenho 5 anos e minha idade é 5 anos.
Para mim só existe duas raças, branco ou negro, né? Branca, logicamente, eu não sou, então eu sou negra.
Eu sou branca.
Eu sou preta. Eu me acho preta, mas as pessoas me acham morena.
A minha prima Jéssica é branca, o cabelo dela é liso. Minha mãe é branca e meu pai era negro.
Meu pai é branco. A minha mãe é preta.
Minha raça é negra.
A minha cor mesmo é marrom bombom, mas como não tem isso, eu sou pardo, né?
Eu acho que o Ney é negro.
Pardo significa ser uma pessoa misturada.
A minha filha é branca, embora ela é misturada. Eu sou negra e o pai dela é branco.
A minha cor é marrom.
Ela é branca pela cor da pele que ela tem.
Por que a sua cor é marrom?
Não sei.
Eu acho que a raça muda a minha vida, acho que desde o início, né? Sou ciente da história toda que eu carrego quando me identifico como negro. O peso que isso tem.
Minha cor nunca influenciou e nem influencia em nada.
Se você tem um aspecto de branco, né, acho que as portas se abrem muito mais facilmente.
Uma parte ruim de ser negra é porque você é classificado pela sua cor, não pelo que você é.
Quando você vai se candidatar a uma vaga de emprego, muitas das vezes você tem as mesmas qualificações ou até maiores do que aquela pessoa branca e as pessoas preferem, né, escolher aquela pessoa branca.
Eu e Simone, minha esposa, nós temos pais preto e branco, mas só que ela tem características maiores da parte preta do que eu. Então eu transito mais fácil no meio do povo do que ela.
Pelo fato de eu ser negra e as minhas irmãs serem brancas, às vezes quando tinha aquelas brigas, né, às vezes elas me chamavam de neguinha, macaca e aquela coisa da briga ali em si, né, mas na hora eu me sentia mal, mas depois passava.
Que eu me lembro, eu nunca chamei ela de neguinha nem de macaca.
Se eu pudesse, eu não mudaria minha cor.
Não, eu não mudaria minha cor.
Ah, minha cor é linda, né? Ser negro é lindo.
We now ask ourselves, in the 20th and 21st centuries, post the abolition of slavery, do Afro-Brazilians live in a racially equal society? The answer is no. Despite that, as of the 1930s, many scholars believe that racism is a thing of the past in Brazil, including Gilberto Freire, who coined the term racial democracy. We just watched a short video that talks about the way race and color is viewed in Brazil, and serves as an inside look as to how racism is not a thing of the past. Racial democracy is a belief that while gender and class may have an effect on Brazilian society and inequality, race does not. This particular belief is not only flawed because it is wrong, but also because it is naive to believe that even if race and class were the only factors that have an effect on Brazilian society, race has nothing to do with that. While there are scholars who believe in the racial democracy, there are just as many, if not definitely more, that believe it is a completely false school of thought. Among those were the Afro-Brazilians who created the Frente Negra Brasileira, or Black Brazilian Front, a political movement started up by Black Brazilians to fight for racial equality. It was created in 1931, and until then there had not existed a nationwide society with the intent of improving race relations and advocating for Afro-Brazilians. Afro-Brazilians had banded together in the past to create brotherhoods or early attempts at work unions, but none of these conglomerations were created with the mentality of political advocacy. It was hard to find information on specific chapters, but I was able to find an article on the Bahia chapter, documenting its success and failures. While the chapter only lasted a little over a year, due to controversy and bureaucratic inefficiency, it was able to accomplish the betterment of Afro-Brazilian thought and organization in Bahia, a state that serves as a hub for a huge chunk of the Afro-Brazilian population around the country. The Frente Negra Brasileira worked by advocating for black politics and also serving as an educational resource for Afro-Brazilians. They focused on education and literacy, realizing that a big reason that Afro-Brazilians experience racial inequality is because of the systematic oppression that results from a lack of adequate healthcare and education, as well as increased rates of illiteracy. They developed a curriculum that focused on school, education, music, theater, sports, law and justice, and health. They also offered courses on politics and history in order to shape future leaders. These weekly Sunday meetings that served as a safe space for Afro-Brazilians, where they can learn about political advocacy as well as develop their cultural knowledge, allowed Afro-Brazilians to grow as Brazilian citizens as a whole. The Frente Negra Brasileira then grew into a full-blown political party and lasted 6 years before it was ordered to dissolve when President Getúlio Vargas banned all political parties. Nevertheless, it achieved many successes, such as the inclusion of Afro-Brazilians into the public boards of São Paulo, the desegregation of skating rinks in northeast Brazil, and their involvement in the electoral tribunal in 1936. Unfortunately, their dissolvement meant that there was a lack of political organization on the part of Afro-Brazilians for many years, and civil issues became a little more specialized as part of individual platforms as opposed to one organized political party. To play a game of historical what if, we ask ourselves, what if Vargas had never ordered the end of the Frente Negra Brasileira? The first result is obvious. He probably would not have ordered the end of other political parties, and this form of organized politics would have led to a much different course of Brazilian politics in the 20th century. Would the Frente Negra Brasileira last much longer? Or would it have seen its end just a few years later? Would race relations be perfect now? Would Brazilians actually be living in a racial democracy? Regardless, the Frente Negra Brasileira, no matter how short-lived, served as a great beginning for the development of race politics and racial equality in Brazil, known to this very day.